Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Nikhil. So I have a total experience of around 9 years. I'm completely into data engineering. I'm working as an ETL developer using Informatica, and I'm expecting to learn a cloud technology as part of data engineering profile.
Got it. And Diganta, Diganta, can you brief about yourself?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Sundar.
Yeah, actually, I have 2 years of experience and I'm working with GCP itself only, but I want to expand my modules in GCP. So that the reason I have been joined here.
Okay, thank you, Surendra.
Uh,
Ravikumar, you can go ahead.
Hey, hi. I have like around 15 years of experience in legacy system, and I want to cross skill, and I want to move from legacy to cloud technologies. That's why I joined this one.
Thank you. And Shravan, Shravan, can you brief out yourself? We are not able to hear you, Shravan. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have 3 years of experience working as an automation tester. I want to change the domain, so I'm looking for the TCP data engineering.
Okay, thank you. And Sulaiman,
Yeah, I have around 5 years of experience into BigQuery and GCP. I'm currently working as a data engineer at Accenture. So I just want to understand the GCP as a whole and like have a overall understanding of how GCP works.
thank you. And Ashwant,
Yeah, I have like 2 years of experience in cybersecurity, so I need to move my career in data engineering.
okay, thank you. Yes, Swagat, you can go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. So am I audible? Uh, my voice is clear, right? There is no issue.
Yes.
Okay,
Everyone, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, Swagat.
okay, fine, fine, fine. So let me share my screen. Okay. So myself, Swagat, I'm having around close to 10 years of experience in IT, and I have been working as a data engineer. So I have experience in multiple cloud, including the GCP as well. So in this course, basically we have designed this course for a data engineer. So this course is going to cover everything which will come in the GCP certification exam. Along with that, also we are going to cover other topics as well, which are relevant for a data engineer or who wants to switch to data engineering domain. So it will be also helpful for them. So let me go ahead and show you what all topics we are going to cover as part of this course. So since we are going to focus only on the data engineering, so we are going to cover Python, we are going to cover SQL and PySpark as well. So basically, Python and SQL, we are not going to cover on that detail level. So we'll do a kind of a crash course on Python and SQL. And because this course is mostly focused on the GCP services, so that's why like we are going to conduct the class course on for Python and SQL. But from starting from the PySpark onwards, we are going to uh, cover in detail, and then we are going to discuss about, so first initial few classes will discuss about the data warehousing concept. And then we are going to discuss about the data modeling and the fundamentals of the data engineering concept. So in the initial classes, we are going to discuss about all those data engineering fundamental concept, where we'll be discussing about the ELT and ETL framework, OLTP, OLAP, what's the difference between SQL, NoSQL, what are the different types of data modeling techniques are available, how we can create the data modeling, what is the approach to create the data modeling. So all those things we are going to discuss, because this course is designed for anyone like who wants to switch to data engineering domain. Also, they can easily go through this course, and they'll, after completion of the course, they will be in a comfortable position to start working on the data engineering project. So that is how this course is designed. So we'll start with the data engineering concept, where we'll be discussing about the data warehousing concept, and then the data modeling concept, and also including the fundamentals of the data engineering, which I told. So after that, we are going to start with the GCP services. So in the GCP services, so we'll basically start with the storage services. So in the storage services, we are going to discuss about the cloud storage, Google Cloud Storage, and other storage transfer services which are there in case of the GCP. So those things we are going to discuss in the storage services. And after that, we are going to discuss about the GCP basic services. So where we'll be discussing about the compute engine, and we are going to discuss about the Google App Engine, Google Kubernetes Engine, Cloud Run, along with the also the IAM services. Also we'll discuss after the storage services. We are also going to discuss about the IAM services, and then we are going to discuss about the basic services, in which we are going to discuss about the compute engine, Google App Engine, Cloud Run, and Google Kubernetes Engine. So also there is a cloud function. So these are the services which we are going to discuss as part of the GCP basic services. And after that, we are going to start with the database services. So in case of the database services, again, we have SQL as well as NoSQL database services. So as part of the SQL database services, we are going to cover Cloud SQL and Spanner. And in case of the NoSQL database services, we are going to cover Bigtable, data store, and other database other NoSQL database services like Memcache and all. So those things also we are going to cover in the NoSQL database services. After that, we'll start with the data warehousing services. Where we'll discuss about the BigQuery in detail. And not only BigQuery, so in the data warehousing services also, we are going to see how we can use BigQuery along with dbt, and how we can use BigQuery along with data form. So all those things we are going to discuss, including like everything about dbt also we are going to discuss, because nowadays if you see in the data engineering project, people are using dbt, which is the data build tool for to create the ETL pipeline. So that also we are going to discuss. After covering the data warehouse services, we'll start with the data processing services. In the data processing services, we are going to discuss about data flow. We'll discuss about the data proc, and data fusion. And also before data processing services, we'll also discuss about POPSOB as well, which is used for the streaming data processing. And then in the data processing services, so these are the services which we are going to discuss in detail. And after data processing services, we are also going to discuss about some of the machine learning services uh, on a fundamental level, because as I told, this course is mainly for the data engineer. So as a data engineer, you don't need to know in detail about the machine learning services or how you can use the machine learning services. But still, we are going to discuss about the BQML, like BigQuery ML, and the AutoML services. In case of the Google Cloud, there are some pre-built API that also we are going to discuss. And also we are going to discuss about the Vertex AI as well. So these are the things which we are going to discuss as part of the ML services. Okay. So and also we uh, plan to include Databricks as well. So Databricks is not available, like it's available inside the Google Cloud as a partner services. So I'll show you that how to use the Databricks inside the Google Cloud, and we are going to discuss the Databricks as well. And also one more services which I forgot. So that is the Cloud Composer services or Airflow. We are also going to discuss. So when I say we are going to discuss, so we are going to discuss about each of the services in 3 ways mainly. So there are 3 ways how you can interact with any of the GCP services. So the first way is using the web console. Using the Google Cloud Console, you can interact with any of the services, or you can use the CLI command, which is the using the Cloud Shell or using the Cloud SDK. So I'll talk about that, how you can use the Cloud Shell or Cloud SDK. And the third way is using the client API. So we are going to use Python, and using Python, how we can interact with each of the services, how we can interact with starting from storage till the data flow or till the data fusion, how we can interact with each of the services using Python. So that also we are going to discuss. And while discussing about all these services, we will have also some smaller and some uh, smaller to medium level of project as also we are going to do as well while discussing about each of these services. So this is completely, you can say, mostly hands-on based course. And there are some theoretical concepts we are also going to discuss. After discussing about the theoretical concept, we'll discuss about the hands-on. Okay. So that is how the course has been designed. So for example, let's say we'll start with the storage services. So in the storage services, we'll discuss about all the concept of the storage services of GCs and what all concept we are going to discuss. So after discussing all the concept, we'll discuss about how we can interact with the GCS using the console, how we can interact with the GCS. GCS means Google Cloud Storage. So this is the blob storage solution which is available inside the Google Cloud. Okay, to store any kind of a binary object like audio, video files or image file or any file you can store inside the Google Cloud Storage. And then after discussing about how to interact with this cloud storage using console or CLI, and then we are going to discuss about how we can use the Python to interact with the cloud storage. Okay. So mostly I'm planning to cover the Python and SQL over the weekend. Okay, as I told, it's going to be crash course, and we'll cover all the concept. It's not like we are going to skip any of the concept. We are going to cover all the concept of Python and SQL, but it will be a crash course because if I'm going to dedicate time for this, then we'll not be able to complete each of these services which I told. So that's why like I'm planning to cover this Python and SQL over the class course. Even if someone is completely new to Python and SQL, so they can attend those class courses. If someone like most of you already told, like you are already working in the data engineering, you are already using some of the services, then I guess you already having some knowledge on the Python and SQL, you already knowing all the concept. You may not need to know, you may not need to join these weekend classes. But if PySpark or Spark, you should join. If you are familiar with PySpark or Spark, even also I'll suggest please join, because we are going to cover each of the things, each of the concept, optimization technique, everything in detail. So please join the PySpark. PySpark will cover in the regular classes, but the Python and SQL we are going to cover over the weekends. And the class timing. So we are going to conduct the classes every weekdays, 1 hour per day. So we'll have 5 hour classes per week, and we'll have the classes each weekdays of 1 hour. So to complete this course, it's going to take almost 45 to 55 days to complete all these topics which I told. And we are going to have classes only on the weekdays. Okay. So timings, I don't think it's yet decided, but you can check with Ganesh. He will inform you about what will be the timings for the class. And yeah, so for each of the topics, you will be provided with the code. You'll be provided with all the PPT, all the materials and everything, along with the recordings as well. So everything will be uploaded to your Google Drive. So as you can see here, this is for the previous batches. So like this, all the drives, everything on the Google, everything will be uploaded to your Google Drive itself. Okay. So also after the completion of the course, I'll be sharing some sample resume as well, like related to the GCP data engineering. If someone wants to switch to GCP data engineering and they want to make some changes on the resume, they can refer those resume as well. Along with that, I'll be sharing some sample set questions for GCP data engineering certification exam. And also we are planning to conduct 2 rounds of mock interview as well, which I will take over the weekends. Okay, 2 rounds of mock interview. But again, like it will be it will depend on you. Okay, because I don't think it will be correct, like if I'll take the interview just after completion of the course. But what I'm planning is like we can arrange this interview after 15 days of completion of the course, or whenever you are ready. So if you have refreshed all of this concept, if you have already revised all the concept, then you can go ahead and you can just let me know, yeah, I'm ready, we can have a mock interview. So for student, we'll have 2 rounds of mock interview, and based on your experience. Okay, based on your experience, whatever the experience you have and for which role you are going to apply. So obviously it will be for GCP data engineering only, but it will be based on your experience. If someone is having let's say more than 10 years of experience, I don't think like you will get lots of questions related to the coding, or you will be asked to do the coding or all something. So based on your experience, so we will have to design the interview, and you have to let me know whenever you are ready after completion of the course. So 2 rounds of mock interview will also take. Okay. So that is the plan for this course. And if you have any questions, anything you want to ask, you can ask, or else we'll start with the demo.
So Swagat, Nikhil here. So among all these services,
Mhm.
So these services are part of GCP, basically their whole infrastructure. But along with that, Python SQL is needed, right? As in what I'm trying to say is
Yeah, mandatory
al-
skills.
okay. So which is not part of basically this service. It's a third language or third party language, and outside technology. I'm asking.
Yeah, so Python SQL, these are like scripting language which you need to know in order to use the GCP services. So as a data engineer, whenever you are going to work in any project, you will have to use Python. You should know SQL as well.
Oh,
So
all
these
the
are
Python
mandatory skills.
libraries are necessary.
No, like you will see, like there are many libraries which we are using for
Mm,
machine learning. Like there are scikit-learn, there is or other libraries like which we are using, NumPy and all. So those things are
mm.
not needed. You need to know Python, and some up to some extent like Python pandas as well. That's it. You don't need to know NumPy. You don't need to know scikit-learn or Flask, Django. You don't need to know all those Python libraries.
Okay, and all these services are part of a data engineering pipeline, like reading data from say any source and then transforming the data as per the logic or the requirements, and then loading it into any database or creating a file.
Yes. So these are mandatory skills which, as a data engineer, you need to know.
Mhm.
Without that, it's difficult to switch to data engineering domain without knowing Python and SQL.
Mhm. Okay. So I have an experience of 9 years of data engineering itself, but it is completely into Informatica, which is a licensed tool.
I got
Yeah.
you.
So if I go through this course and basically uh, uh, try to frame my current project, as in, is it
Mhm.
possible for me to directly go into GCP data engineering, stating my current experience into Informatica, or do I have to little bit show as in frame my current project as part of GCP itself?
No, no, no.
How
So
can I
it's
make an entry into?
very much possible. So if you see, in one of my projects, we were using the talent ETL tool,
Okay.
so which is similar to Informatica,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this ETL tool, where you don't need to write any kind of coding. So everything would be there in form of blocks. You just
Log.
need to
Yeah.
write a drag and drop, and you need to set up the config, and then you are good to go. You can create the ETL pipeline. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was happening is, like we were receiving the data from this talent ETL tool. So there was a talent ETL team who were responsible for managing that ETL pipeline, and we were receiving the data in the GCS bucket, which is the Google Cloud Storage bucket.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then from there, we were receiving the data every day, and we were processing this data. So basically, we after receiving this data, we need to process this data using like we'll receive the data in the GCS bucket, and then we'll apply the transformation. We'll store the data in the let's say staging layer, and then after that, again we'll apply some transformation, and finally the data will be stored in the BigQuery, which is the data warehouse. It is the data warehouse. Okay. So this was the pipeline which I worked on in one of the projects. So there was ETL tool which was involved, and in many projects also you'll find ETL tools are used. And but ETL tools, you cannot do much customization. So let's say you want to process huge amount of the data. So there you need to use tools like PySpark, right? So, or let's say you want to apply something like you want to do the data quality check, you want to create a data pipeline, and you want to also do the version controlling of that pipeline. So there you need to use tools like DBT, which nowadays people are using. So I don't think you have already background of Informatica, so it will be pretty much easier for you to uh, like modify your resume accordingly. Once you'll go through this course and you'll completed this course, it will be pretty easier for you to modify your resume accordingly, and then you can start looking for the GCP data engineering opportunity.
Okay, okay. So basically, I have to frame a little bit of experience in GCP.
Yeah, of course. Like how otherwise how will
Okay.
like how will apply for the GCP data engineering jobs. So along with your Informatica tool, as I told, so this is
Mhm.
like what you need to showcase. Like this is how you can tell them this was my pipeline. This is how we were processing the data. So you
Mhm.
need to put GCP services in your resume.
Got it.
GCP, then only like resume will be shortlisted and you can go ahead and
Okay,
attend
okay.
the
Not on just basis of the knowledge that, as in that do have knowledge on GCP. I have to tell them that I have hands-on experience in a real-time project.
Yeah, like if you are if let's say someone is looking for hiring a candidate for a GCP data engineering project, obviously they look for someone who is having some hands-on experience, not someone who is completely fresher or completely new to the
Mhm.
GCP environment, right?
Okay, okay.
So obviously you'll have to modify your resume a little bit, and you'll have to put something related to the GCP.
Okay. Okay.
Anyone else? Any questions, guys? Any doubts?
In
Yeah,
total, how many services are there for computing, for storage, and for uh, other facilities?
There are multiple options. Like if you see any cloud domain, whether
Mhm.
it is Azure or GCP, so
Mhm.
they don't give only one option. They give multiple options. Okay, and also all those services. Let's say, for example, in case of the GCP, when it comes to big data processing,
Mhm.
uh, so we have services like Data Pro. We have services like Data Flow and Data Fusion. So if you'll see for each of these services, they have different types of requirement. And when you need to use these services, you'll also like see what is your requirement. If it will fit for with your requirement, then only you can go for that particular services. For example, in case of the data proc, you can create a big data cluster. So if you want to create a master node, and if you want to create a worker node, and or else let's say you already having some existing big data cluster and you want to do the lift and shift of your big data from your on premises to data in the Google Cloud, then there
Mhm.
you can use the services like Data Pro. And all your, let's say you are already using Hive jobs, you have already, since you are already migrating from on premises, say you are already having some jobs like Hive jobs, PySpark jobs, which are already running, and you don't need to change, you don't want to make any changes in those jobs, you just want to do the migration from your on premises to Google Cloud. So there, this is the option which you have in case of the Google Cloud. Similarly, let's say if you are looking for a serverless services, so which will auto scale automatically, you don't need to do lots of maintenance, then in that case you can go for a Data Flow. So data flow is, the concept is again different. It uses Apache Beam model. So you need to write the data pipeline using Apache Beam along with Python. You can also use Java or some other languages, but we are going to use Apache Beam along with Python.
Okay.
Similarly, that is
And
data. Mhm.
in you said it would be majorly hands as in practical approach. So are these free to use? All this when we will be trying, will be able to do it in free of cost, or there would be a
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I
cost?
forgot to tell. So in case of the GCP, basically we are going to create a free trial account,
Mm,
which will be valid for 90 days. Okay.
mm,
And you'll get a $300 of the credit. So which will be more than enough that $300 of the credit you can consume for the 90 days, and you will be able to practice all the GCP resources. Okay, so you will see like I have already created this account, and this account will be expired in next 9 days. So like this, you can set up some free trial account, and you need to, I'll also show you how to set up the free trial account on the GCP. You need to have a credit card or debit card having international transaction enabled. Okay, so it should have the international transaction enabled, and a new Gmail ID. So that's all you need to create a new GCP account. And if you want to practice along with me, you need to have a GCP account, so that whatever hands-on will practice, you can also go ahead and you can go to your home, and you can also, after the class, you can do the practice as well. So you need to have either a credit card or debit card with international transactions enabled, and a new Gmail ID in order to create a GCP free trial account. So I'll show you how to create this free trial account. And once you create this free trial account, you'll be having $300 of the credit will be provided by GCP, and which will be valid for 90 days. So if you can see, like, we'll go to here. So this account we created for previous batch, and this account is going to expire in 90 days, sorry, 9 days, and then we'll have to create one more account. So this is how like you need to practice, and $300 of the credit is more than enough. Obviously, like I'll tell you like how to create each of the services, and you should turn off or delete the services once you have once you are done with your hands-on, or once you are done with your practice. You should turn off or you should delete that services. So I'll tell you that in the class itself, but $300 of the credit will be more than enough to practice all the hands-on, to all practice all the project.
Okay, okay, got it.
Sorry to interview. Swagat, your voice is very low. Is it for me or for others also same?
Is it low now or?
Very low, very low. Shaker, you can able to hear him? His
Are
voice?
you guys able to hear me, or is low for everyone?
Oh,
No, we can.
I was able to hear properly.
Surendra, is it fine? The voice?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, yes, fine.
Okay, then my laptop has some issues. Yeah, you can go ahead. So any questions from Shawan, Sulaiman, Shivam?
Any
Shaker?
questions, guys?
Yeah, hello. Actually, I have a question. Like, I have been experienced with the 2 years of GCP BigQuery only, but I don't have any experience on Python and Spark, all these things. I have only experience with SQL and BigQuery part. And I know about Airflow also. But what my idea is, like, I want to learn PySpark, and after that I need to compose this GCP components that I'm thinking. So
Yeah.
is it the right way, or no? I'm not sure, but I'm thinking this way.
No, it's fine. You already having some experience in one of the GCP services, and it is a very important services. Like if you'll see BigQuery, it is BigQuery will be part of each of the data pipeline which are using GCP. Okay, because that's the data warehousing solution in
Yeah,
case of
yes.
GCP pipeline. So any data engineering project after completion of the course, also if you are going to join any data engineering project, you'll definitely find BigQuery as one of the components if that project is using GCP. So along with that, obviously, as I told, you need to know PySpark. Without PySpark or Python, because that I'm not saying there won't be any opportunity. Definitely there will be there. But if you know PySpark and Python, it will be better for you. And obviously you will be able to apply for lots of opportunity. You'll be able to apply for all the opportunity. Even let's say you know Python and PySpark, even some opportunity we saw, like it's not in GCP, it's in some other cloud as well.
Yeah,
But you will
yes.
be able to replicate the concept which you have learned for GCP in Azure platform as well. You can tell them that I have experience in GCP, I know PySpark, I'm comfortable with PySpark and Python. I can definitely work with Databricks. So, or I can work with Data Factory. So it is helpful. And as I told, as a data engineer, you should know. If you will restrict yourself to know only SQL and BigQuery, like the opportunities will be limited. If you want to apply for lots of opportunity, then you will have to know PySpark and Python, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, that is only my question.
Anything else? Any questions, guys? Are you able to hear me clearly, or there is any issue in the audio?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. If there is no question, so let's go ahead and let's see a demo using the GCP. So in this demo, we are going to use DBT. So again, DBT is not possible to cover the concept of DBT in one class. So DBT is nothing but data build tool. So we are going to discuss how we can integrate DBT with the BigQuery. So BigQuery is a data warehousing solution, and DBT is not a GCP services. It is a third-party tool. Okay, and again, DBT is having two flavors. One is the DBT core, which is the CLI-based tool, where you can use the command line interface in the DBT core, and DBT core is free, or it's, you can say, open source version. And then there is DBT Cloud. So DBT Cloud comes with a subscription or plan. This is not free. You can create a account in the DBT Cloud as well. Just like you are creating account in Google Cloud, similarly, you can also create account in the DBT Cloud. And if you want to try it out, you can create an account for 30 days, which should be free for you. And you can try DBT Cloud as well if you want. So what is DBT? So DBT is a tool which we are using in the modern data pipeline or modern data warehousing pipeline in while applying the ELT concept, while doing the extract, load, and transform. We are using in our ELT pipeline, we are using this DBT tool. So DBT is, if you learn DBT, it will be useful for you as a data engineer. If you'll go into the market and you'll search for the opportunity, there are a number of opportunities, number of openings who are looking for DBT or someone who is having experience in the DBT. So DBT, you can not only integrate with a BigQuery. Obviously, we are going to discuss only for BigQuery how we can integrate DBT with a BigQuery, because BigQuery is the data warehouse available inside the GCP. But DBT, you can also integrate with Snowflake. You can also integrate with Databricks. You can integrate with PostgreSQL. Any of the data warehouse solution also, or any of the data warehousing platform, you can say you can integrate DBT with that data warehousing platform. Okay. So we are going to see how to integrate DBT and how to run the data pipeline. Again, what are the features of DBT? So that is not possible to cover in one class. It will take almost like 3 to 4 classes to cover all the concept of the DBT. But as I told, DBT is the data build tool, which is used mainly to apply the data transformation. So when you are applying the ELT pipeline, so what you need to do, you are going to extract the data from sources or from source tables, and then you need something to apply the transformation. And then finally, you can store the data in your data warehouse, right? Which will be BigQuery for you. So for this data transformation, we can use DBT. What is the advantage of using DBT? There are many advantages, but most important advantage is like if someone knows SQL, so they can use DBT even if they don't know Python, they don't know PySpark, still they'll be able to use DBT, they'll be able to create the data pipeline completely just using DBT. So when initially DBT came into the market, it was only supporting SQL, but right now if you see the recent version of the DBT, it also supports Python as well. So you can write the transformations using Python script as well. You can also write the transformations using the SQL as well. Okay, so if you'll see, so this is my DBT folder. We'll see here, and again how to create this DBT folder. It will take some time to understand, but let me also tell you, let me explain you in brief. So if you see here inside the DBT, there is analysis folder, there is DBT packages folder, there is logs folder, there is macro folder, model folder, profiles, seeds, snapshot, target, test, and then there are DBT project YAML file as well. So here if you see, whenever we are creating the data pipeline, so in our, or we are creating the data warehouse. So in our data warehouse, we may have multiple layers, okay? So let's say there will be the first layer, we can say it's as a raw layer. And different project, in different project, people use different types of naming convention, but you don't need to get confused by that. So it is the first layer is mostly the raw layer because we are going to store the raw data without applying much transformation. And the next layer, we call it as the staging layer. And then the final layer, we call it as final layer or data warehouse layer, or sometimes they call it standard layer. So for each of this layer, so when you are transferring the data from the raw to the staging, you need to use DBT. So we are using DBT to apply this transformation. Similarly, when we are converting the data from staging to final layer, so here also for the data transformations, we are using DBT. So if you'll see all this data model, so when we are applying this data transformations, all these transformations will be available inside the model folder. So that is the model folder which you can see here. Inside this model folder, all these data transformations will be available, whatever the data transformations we are going to use. And then there are macros. So what is a macro? So macro is, let's say if you have any knowledge about Python or any knowledge about Excel macro, or even Notepad++ macro. So macro means, let's say if you are writing a block of code, okay, and you know like this code you are going to execute multiple times in your data pipeline, or in your model, you are going to use this code multiple times. You are going to refer to this code multiple times. So instead of writing this 10 lines of code or 15 lines of code in multiple location or multiple steps, what you can do is you can just define it once as a macro, and then you can just call that macro. So this is same as what we use in case of Python. We call it as Python function. So any repetitive code which you are using, instead of you writing the same piece of code multiple times, you can just declare it once at one place, and then you can call that function whenever you want or wherever you want, you can call that function. So that is what macros means. And whenever you are connecting this BigQuery with DBT, so you need to have this DBT project file. So inside this DBT project file, if you'll see, I have specified this project name, which is DBT BigQuery demo. And also I have specified I have specified the path for each of this model. So for model folder, what will be the path? What will be the path for analysis folder? For macro, what is the path? So what is the path for snapshot? What is the path for seed? Again, what is seed? So seed is something, let's say you have some static data. Let's say there is a data set which is just having country name and their country code. So they're just having country name and the country code. So this is a static data. This is not going to change, right? And let's say you are using this data in your data model. So what you can do, instead of loading this data to the data warehouse, so what you can do, you can just load this data before running this pipeline. And you can put this data inside the seed folder, and using dbt you can load this data to the data warehouse before running your pipeline. Okay, so that is where you can use the seed folder. In order to load the data, any static data to the data warehouse, you can use the seed folder. And similarly, there is snapshot folder. So I'll talk about a snapshot concept later in the class, because it will take time. And here you will see we have specified the project name or the profile name, which is dbt BigQuery demo. And inside that we have specified what all models we are creating. So if you'll see what all model, we are creating a college scorecard model, we are creating selective fast change model, and we are creating selective fast change top 10 model. So for some of the model, we are creating the table, we are creating the views. I hope some of you might be already knowing the difference between the table and views. So here what we are doing, we are creating table for some of the model, and we are creating views for some of the models. And that is what we have mentioned in the materialization. Okay. So there are other types of materialization as well, apart from table and views. We'll discuss that in the class itself. So this is one of the important file, which is the dbt project YAML file. And the other important file is, if you'll go to why. So these things you need to know while setting up the dbt on your project for the first time. Okay. So if you'll go to your user folder, inside the user folder, there will be a .dbt folder. There will be a .dbt folder. And inside this .dbt, there will be a profile file. So you saw right here in this dbt underscore project file, the profile name is dbt BigQuery demo. So this profile name, it should match with the profile name which is there in this project. Okay, so it should match with this profile name. Otherwise, you will face issues. Okay, so this is the profile file, and this profile file will be present inside the .dbt folder. So this profile file should match with this profile file, because we are going to run dbt. So dbt we are running in our local environment, in my local laptop. From the local laptop, I'm going to interact with the GCP services. So it has to authenticate, right? Because this local laptop, this is the external environment for GCP. So it has to authenticate, right? And how it is going to authenticate? It is going to authenticate through this profile name. So for this profile name, I have defined the key file, which I am going to use in order to authenticate my system, to use GCP services. And along with that, also I have specified the project ID. So in GCP, you will be having a project ID. Okay, so whatever the resources you are going to create, you need to create it inside a project ID. Okay, so this is, you need to specify, you need to create, and you need to specify this. Again, I'll talk about this in detail, how to set up everything in detail in the class. But for now, just understand that this file is important, profiles.yml file. And here you need to create a profile. You can see there are other profiles which I have created for BigQuery, for Snowflake as well. But you need to create a profile file, and this profile file along with the key, and this key should have the permission as well. Okay, so whenever you are going to interact with the BigQuery, this queue should have the sufficient permission to interact with the BigQuery services. Otherwise, it will fail again. Okay, so you need to have this profile file. You need to create this profile along with the keys, and you need to also set up this. You need to specify that profile name inside the project file. So these two files are very important. After that, we can come to the model which I told. So the raw layer, staging layer, and the final layer model which I told. So whenever you are applying any transformation, any SQL transformation, for that you need to create a model. So if you'll see here, I have my this file. So this is again, everything is in SQL only, because in DBT you can use only SQL. So here we have the SQL, and this is simple city expression, which is selecting some columns from this table. So what is this table? Where is this table exist? So this table is from the BigQuery. So let me check, and let me go to the BigQuery, and I will check if this data set and the table is available or not. Uh, it's not there. Let me create this data set. So I'm just quickly creating the data set. So data set, in case of BigQuery, you can compare it with the database which we have in other DBMS services, so that it is SQL or Teradata or anything. So we call it a database in case of any DBMS database services. So here in case of BigQuery, we call it a data set. I'm going to create a data set inside US location, and I will simply create a data set. So this is my source data set, right? So this source data set has to be present. Otherwise, this is my first source model. This source data set has to be present. Otherwise, it will throw error. So I'm going to create this table as well. So I created the database, which we call as data set in case of BigQuery. And inside that, I'm going to create a table. So I have already uploaded a file in the Google Cloud Storage before the class. So I'm going to use that. I will extract the data from that file. I uploaded. Let me see. Mention again. Okay, so it is uploading. It will take some time to upload, because this is a bit there are some like a huge amount of data in that file, so it will take some time to upload. Fine. So I'm going to create the table after that is uploaded. So this is my first table, okay, which is the called as scorecard. This is my source table. So So the first table is my source table, or you can say source model, which is my college scorecard, right? Which is in this data set. I'm going to create the BigQuery table. On this table, I'm going to apply the transformation using DBT, where I'm using SQL, and I will create the next table, which is this table, which is this selective fast chain table. So here you can see I'm using select star, select all these columns, and you can see the reference data model. So this is where we are using Jinja template. So in the DBT, we are going to use Jinja template a lot. So along with SQL. So here you can see I'm referencing my college scorecard model. So what is college scorecard model? So college scorecard is my source model. That is what I'm referencing, and I'm creating a another model, which is selective fast chain model. So the next model is selective fast chain model, right? This is the model I'm creating. After that, again, I'm applying the DBT transformation, and I'm creating the next model, which is this model. And here you can see I'm referencing this selective fast chain model, and in order to create this selective fast chain top 10 model. So this is how, like, this was a simple use case, but this is how you need to apply. Let's say this is your raw layer, this is your staging layer, this is your final layer or standard layer, and this is how you need to apply DBT, okay, in each of the layer, okay. And here if you'll see in the scholar scorecard, so here you can see this is cleanup numeric. So what is this cleanup numeric? So this is the macro which I'm using. So if you'll see this cleanup numeric macro, so what it is going to do, here we are applying some transformations. We are using this, we are creating this macro. So this is how you need to create the macro. It should start with macro. It should end with end macro. Again, this is here also you can see we are using Jinja template, and we are creating macro. So create a replace function, and this macro will, so this is a SQL function which we are creating, and this function will take the column name as the argument, and on that column name it is going to apply this condition. So it is checking just if the column is not having null, if the column is not having this value, then cast the column into float, changing the data type of the column to float, or else null, it will populate as null. So this is what we are going to apply. This is the macro which we are applying. You can see this line of code I'm again and again using here, and I'm applying on each of these columns, okay. So this is where you need to use the macro, and this is how you need to use the DBT macro. So this was a simple use case how you need to use the macro. You may need to create some complex macro as well. So macro is like you can use it whenever you are doing any kind of a repetitive task, okay. And so let's see if the data is loaded to the cloud storage. We can create the table. So it looks like it's loaded. I will create a table with this name. So I loaded to 46467. So I'm going to extract data from this cloud storage. Again, I know like I'm not explaining anything how I'm doing it, but it will take some time to understand. So that is why I'm not explaining here, because but simply what we are doing here is I have loaded the data manually to this cloud storage, this CSV file, and from there I'm going to create a BigQuery table. What is this BigQuery table? So this is my source table which I am creating. So that is what I am doing here, and I'll create a native table. I just want to put auto detect schema. I'll create So here I should have populated I think there is header on the data. So I should have populated here header rows to skip as 1, but let's see. So you can see here the table. And if we'll go to preview, you should be able to see the data as well. Okay, so you should be able to see the data as well. So this is my source data set, which is CS4 college scorecard GCS. If we'll go to the details, you'll be able to see the table details as well. So this is my source data set, which I'm using, and I need to run based on this, right? So I have created already. I have created the I have installed Fonda. If you don't know Fonda, I'll talk about that Fonda in the class itself. What is Fonda? What is Anaconda? So using Anaconda, I have created a virtual environment, and inside that virtual environment, I have already installed the dependencies. Because whenever we are running DBT is a third-party tool, right? And then there is BigQuery. So for to run all of this library, we need to install a couple of dependency as well. So all those things I have already installed inside this virtual environment, which you can see here. The virtual environment name is DBT BigQuery. I have already activated that. So right now, if I'll use DBT, and if I'll type DBT version, so you can see here it is showing me DBT. This version is installed, this update is available, and your version is out of date because I'm using this version, and it is telling me to update it to this version. So DBT I have already installed, and this is DBT core. You can see here, this is DBT core, not DBT cloud. There is DBT cloud, which comes with a plan and subscription, which is not free. We'll discuss about that as well, but that is not free version. Okay, and we have the DBT installed. So right now I'm going to use DBT debug to check all the config which I have already created, right? I showed you this DBT project, and also I showed you this one, the profile file. So all this config are correct, or there is anything missing on those configs. So that we are going to check. So we are inside this DBT BigQuery demo folder. Make sure that you are inside this folder, and then you can run DBT debug command to check if all the config are correct or not, or there is any issue on any of these profiles config. Okay, so if there is any issue, it will show you that. So let's say, for example, showing something, there is some issue on the DBT DBT profile, did user DBT profile YAML. Python version 3.7 configuration error, cannot import this. DBT BigQuery. Yes. do I report the report information and data extraction? Okay, so let me activate another DBT environment. Uh, DBT debug. So it is showing some of the dependency files are not available. Like it's not compatible because I'm using this Python version. Okay, so but still, let's see. DBT compile will run. Let's see what is happening. dbt.exception. So here you can see it is giving this error. Let me search for this error. So basically this is giving this error because of some of the dependency files I have not installed correctly. The version mismatch issue is happening. So that is why it is showing that error. Install DBT BigQuery. BigQuery import BigQuery. I'll fix this offline. It may take some time to reinstall everything. But it's a dependency issues, the library which we are using. But if I'll run this dbt run, so what it is going to do is it is going to create the data pipeline and it will create all this data model as well. Okay, so that is what this dbt is going to do. So I'll fix this issue offline. If you have any questions, any issues, you can let me know. Uh, any doubt, anything. Any questions, guys? Okay. If no questions, let's end the session here. You can check with Ganesh regarding the timings and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Swagat. So any questions?
Yeah.
Shekhar, Shravan, Surendra? Okay, then we can wind up the session for now. Thank you, Shravan. Thank you.